Welcome in, bienvenue, svagat. Hopefully I pronounced that right. I have heard that I need to be more clear with my words. My volume needs to be better. And try not to clear my throat. So a little bit of grinding to start off with. Nothing better than a good grind to start your day. Drilling the holes out of the Portlights because I got the rivets that were a little too big, so I needed to drill out the holes in the aluminum frames. Moving on to sanding, a little bit of the gel coat was bumpy from the application on the cabin top, so I'm cleaning that up. On the inside, there was a few drips, so I'm cleaning that up too with a sander. And just when you see some drips, you might as well clean those up too. So a little bit of sanding on the hatch rails. Alright, drill a little dry fit, see if there are. I had to re-drill the holes in the fiberglass too because the holes in the fiberglass were from before. Testing out my new rivet gun to make sure it works. It does, so off we go. Dry fit with the rivets on the port side. I'm applying Sikaflex 295. It's an adhesive, but it's also a sealant. And I thought it better than using thickened resin. So might as well get the stuff that's sort of for. There's great videos on YouTube specifically about Sikaflex and using it on Portlights. So I'm just putting in the frame in this part, putting the rivets in. The glass isn't, the plexiglass isn't in. I'm going to install it after because this particular light didn't have any adhesive to it. There was no, the seal was totally gone, so it was totally out. I cleaned it up, and I'm just going to install it after. So I've got the frame in first. One of the rivets didn't quite go, so I'm going to have to redo that. Here's this. I'm putting the Sikaflex on the inside of the frame, so I can put the plexiglass in it. So because it's an adhesive, it should stick. It's not the best way to do it, but I think it is still a pretty good way. So I put it on the inside of the plexiglass against the frame, and then I'm also going to cover the frame itself with Sikaflex, or not the frame, the plexiglass. So here I'm sort of pushing it into the frame to fill the void because there's an open space in that frame. So I'm just sort of jamming 295 in there to get a good seal and make sure that it's sort of tapered, so any water that comes in or hits the glass, which is going to be all the time, anytime out on the water or on land when it's raining, obviously. So I want to make sure that it doesn't settle into any areas. It looks like a dog's breakfast, but it's the real deal. It's the real stuff. This is a starboard port light. Whoever made these did an amazing thing. They made sure that the holes, the drilled holes that go into the frames and into the fiberglass were all in exactly the same spot. I don't know who this is, but clearly they thought of me because I didn't label any of these lights, so I didn't know where they went, and I just sort of went at it and tried to get them in. This is me dry fitting the starboard light. Now the starboard light had the plexiglass in it, so it's a little bit more challenging. The seal is still there. I didn't want to get rid of it because it was still doing its job. So what I'm just going to do is fit it in, rivet it in, well, seal it with the Sikaflex, put it in, seal it in, rivet it in, and just fill the gaps in the existing seal with Sikaflex. So there's little spots that it's actually missing, and I'm just going to put the Sikaflex into that. Here I'm finally I put the Sikaflex on the outside, pushing it in. I've got rivets going. I'm kind of hanging on the top of the cabin top at this point. Now I'm on top of the cabin, putting the rivets in. Most of them go in pretty well, and unfortunately on this Portlight, the bottom right corner from your view, when you're looking at it, the bottom right corner didn't quite fit in to the recess, into the hole. So I need to drill out a couple rivets, use a Dremel to sand, to sort of trim the bottom right corner and the right side of the fiberglass around this Portlight, push it in, re-rivet it, reseal it, and that should do the trick. It's still pretty good now. I've put sealant around. The rivets are actually holding it in, but it is not a 100% job. Again, guys, this is not a how-to. This is just what you can do. And yeah, I laughed at myself at this point because when I drilled out that final hole in the top left, I had to drill out the rivet, and the hole was too big, and so the rivets that I had wouldn't actually hold. So I found a bolt and a nut and a washer off of a frame rail, I think it was. So that's where I got that from. So this spot right here on the top right, I'm just doing some cleaning. This is sort of the outro. Just doing some cleaning. So that spot I'm going to fill in. I did fill in. I didn't record this, but I filled it in with roving, which is really heavy duty fiberglass. I filled this in on both sides. Dry fit the mast support, and this was all cleaned out and all vacuumed out. So it's pretty nice and clean. Even with a brush, you can see it's pretty nice and clean. So yeah, I know that most people aren't quite getting this far in the video. The average is about 30 seconds, so if you made it this far, appreciate it. Leave a like, because that's a thing, right?